Joe, there's been a real focus on the rise of the alternative credential, especially given recent news from Google Academy and the work that Coursera has done for years, right, to try to unpack the degree into smaller, bite-sized kind of micro pathways or specializations, if you will. And recently, iDesign and SkillStorm had a chance to partner and work on an alternative credential type pathway. And I've been so impressed with the work that you're doing at SkillStorm, supporting our veterans and creating opportunities for women in STEM. I wondered if you could start us off by telling us a little bit about your business model and how your learners become earners.
Here at SkillStorm, what we're really looking to do is to accelerate opportunity for all. Now, if you think about the IT pyramid, at the very top of the pyramid, you have people with 3 to 5 years, maybe 10 years plus experience, who really don't need a lot of help in trying to get a job, given the current market demands today. And then below that, you have people with 2 or less years of experience. You have college graduates and you have military veterans and transitioning service members who don't necessarily have today's skills that companies are looking for. Now, while they might have a degree, they don't necessarily have the skills that employers need today to access these jobs in technology. And even with a computer science degree, it's not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to be offered the particular job that you're looking for. So what we do is we provide a number of different training avenues. We provide training for people who don't have any prior technical experience, and that's one track. And then we also provide training for people who do have a computer science or some type of engineering or STEM background. And how that happens is we essentially have a program for college graduates with a computer science degree who can enter our 10 to 12 week immersive program. It's essentially a 40 hours a week of learning in some of the key tools and technologies that today's organizations need. We train people up in those tools and technologies, and then at the end of 12 weeks, they're essentially ready to go and work for one of our clients or our partners. Now, the technologies that we use cover tracks like Pega, ServiceNow, Salesforce, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Java full stack, just to name a few. But really the idea here is that we can, in 12 weeks, take a college graduate and give them the skills that they need in order to hit the ground running with one of our clients.
That's fantastic. And Joe, I don't know if I shared with you, but my husband is a former Marine. And so knowing that you're helping our veterans be able to upskill, reskill, and land really great jobs is part of the reason that I just find your story so compelling. There's been a lot of discussion about the disruption of the degree, and alternative credentials can certainly help us think of alternative pathways maybe to careers. And there's been a real significant change in our economy post-COVID, right? So I guess my question would be, what do you see the future being when it comes to alternative credentials? And is there a place for them to fit within the higher ed ecosystem that currently exists?
I think that's a great question, Whitney. Personally, I think there is. I just think that you have to work with the innovative universities in order to accelerate the integration of these industry credentials into the higher ed ecosystem. And I think when you look at the tools and technologies that are in demand today and that have thousands and thousands of positions that are going unfilled each year, and then you have thousands of college graduates who are underemployed, many tens of thousands, it really speaks to, sometimes, the disconnect between what the workforce needs and what students are graduating with. And I think what we've got to do is work in partnership with the universities to help provide these credentials and pathways and courses to get and obtain these credentials and add them to a degree. What we're finding with all of our corporate partners is that they all are looking for college students with a degree plus an industry credential, right? So that they can hit the ground running. I wouldn't say it's reached the point of an awe today. For everything that is talked about in the media, when you read a lot about organizations saying they're looking for people without a degree, what we're finding is by far and away organizations are still looking and requiring a degree, but they're looking for an industry credential on top of that. So something in addition that can show and demonstrate specific skills that can be immediately applicable and applied in the workplace.
So that speaks to where we are today, right? The demand for folks with this background, with this educational experience, right, on top of their higher education experience. Where do you see this 10 years from now? Do you think we're going to see a whole lot of shift? And if so, what do you predict?
Again, it's another good question. I think with innovative universities, what you may see is them starting to embed industry credentials as part of their curriculum and encouraging more and more students to go down that path to gain the industry credential along with their degree. I think that there will only be a few universities who can adopt this very quickly, and I think they will be enormously successful if they do. But because it requires a lot of change, right? These tools and technologies are constantly changing and evolving, and new tools and technologies are coming onto the market constantly. So it means that organizations who do adopt or do essentially look to integrate these credentials into their program are constantly going to have to evolve their curriculum and learn new technologies and implement them quickly without delay. So it's not that you're going to be able to spend 2 or 3 years going through curriculum evaluation and curriculum committees. It's going to be that you're going to need a group of people on the curriculum committee that can, immediately understand what's required and be able to integrate that into the university curriculum, expeditiously.
I completely agree with where you're future casting. And I just read an article in the last little bit about a more innovative university making a strategic purchase. And I believe it was a boot camp academy that they purchased. So maybe they're going to be doing something very similar to what you just mentioned, right? Integrating those alternative credentials within the degree, making those embedded so that it becomes, the degree actually becomes a wrap around the credential instead of a 1+1 or a degree plus credential. Do you think that trend will continue, or do you think universities will also create their own alt credentials on, like you said, there's a lot of work associated with that. So I'm just curious if you think there'll be strategic partnerships, mergers, more acquisitions of that nature?
Well, I think this is going to evolve fairly rapidly in terms of the speed of higher education. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot more people, whether it's career changers, IT professionals, college graduates, transitioning service members, looking to get skills that are meaningful and applicable today and can make an immediate impact in the workplace. I think that's going to essentially mean universities are going to have to shift to looking at ways in which they enroll students. And one thing that they might do is consider how they give credit for people with these industry credentials to join one of their programs. And I think universities will shift. I really believe the innovative universities will shift. But as we know, and we've seen for decades, it's not at the pace industry really requires. So I think there'll be a push and a pull, and a way to accelerate this is essentially to work with partners similar to SkillStorm in the marketplace that specialize in these high demand industry credentials that are training hundreds or thousands of people a year and getting them certified in these specialty credentials that can really help accelerate people's careers. So we're working with a number of innovative universities right now, doing exactly what I've said. We're embedding this into the curriculum. We're providing it also through the schools of continuing education, because often, many people who are looking to take one of these credentials are not necessarily looking to get a degree immediately or a master's degree. They're looking to get, gain those skills, whether it's in cloud or whether it's in, project development or whether it's in application development.
Joe, can you share how these educational experiences have impacted the learners themselves? Maybe give us an example or two.
Essentially, through our Skills Bridge program, we've taken military veterans from in all branches of the military and been able to upskill them in today's most in-demand technologies and help them successfully transition from the military into the workforce today. And we've done that, as I mentioned, with all branches of the military.
So really, it's about making sure that folks can find good jobs, right? Because you're making sure that they're trained up in a usable skill that they can apply in the world of work right away. So that's the gap that you're basically solving at SkillStorm.
Yeah, for sure. We're bridging the gap, right? So we see this as an on-ramp to high-value technology careers. And I believe the reason this line of business within SkillStorm exists is because there's a complete shortage of people with the skills in the workplace today. There's also, many organizations are, really looking to upskill their workforce. So not only are we upskilling individuals who are graduating university or leaving the military, we're also working with organizations to upskill their workforce because they're trained in legacy technologies. And they have all of this great domain knowledge, whether it's in financial services or healthcare, and they know how the organization works. But because the tools and technologies are changing so rapidly, it's important to work with an organization that can, help with workforce transformation and digital transformation by upskilling their workforce in these specific tools and technologies that the organization needs.
That's great. Thank you, Joe. And, one of the things that everyone is grappling with right now is how COVID has changed the work that we do and the way that we work. I'm curious if you could share, how has COVID and the situation we find ourselves in where most people are working remotely changed the way you're preparing individuals for the world of work, even in IT fields?
Sure. And this is really interesting because this is something that accelerated our relationship with iDesign. We were training all of our new hires, obviously in person, in classes of 15 to 20 people in a class in one physical location. What this has enabled us to do is really go out into the marketplace, find the best talent, and then train that talent remotely through our online programs with our instructors and mentors present throughout the day, but the delivery modality has completely changed. What we've seen is that the collaboration is critically important, and it's enhanced through the online platform because these people are all working remotely. What we've found is all of the organizations we work with have had to adapt to onboarding people remotely as well. And onboarding, new hires and embedding them into their existing teams and infrastructure can be a challenge. And we've worked through that, but the benefit to our clients and our partners is that they're now able to access talent irrespective of location. So prior to COVID, everybody had to work in one particular area, wherever that organization was located. And now what we're seeing is organizations take full advantage of being able to access talent all over the country.
So, Joe, can you tell me a little bit about what industry is really looking for in the IT professional that comes through the SkillStorm learning experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think many of the clients that we're working with today are looking to create T-shaped teams and T-shaped professionals. So people skilled in multiple technologies to a certain level, almost like a generalist. But then they're also a specialist in one technology. So a great example of this is you might be a specialist in the cloud and really understand the cloud, but then you might also want to have some general knowledge in business process management. So you might get skilled in Pega or Appian or other BPM tools. Likewise, you might also want to be skilled in essentially CRMs. So you might get skilled up in Salesforce too, and just to the administrator level. Essentially, being able to understand these the core operations of these platforms gives you a real advantage in the workforce and makes you far more marketable, makes you far more valuable to the organization.
Joe, I do have one more question for you. If someone in higher education is really interested in starting to think about how they might embed some of these alternative credential pathways that you have at SkillStorm in their own degrees, what should they do? How do they get in touch? What does that relationship look like?
Yeah, so we're working with a number of universities today on a number of different areas. One is to hire the college graduates, and another is to offer credentials that can possibly over time be embedded into their curriculum. We welcome the opportunity to talk with any universities considering embedding curriculum into their programs. We'd absolutely welcome a conversation with them and to talk with them about what we're seeing are the most in-demand tools, technologies, and platforms that can offer the most valuable employment options.
Thank you so much for your time today, Joe. I really appreciate you sharing a little bit more with us about the programs themselves, how people are getting placed in jobs, and we've had such an incredible time working with your team. I just wanted to be sure that we could share your story.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you very much, and we love working with you too. So thanks a lot, Whitney. Sorry. That means someone's just been placed. Someone's just got a job, so that's a good thing. Someone's just got a job during this conversation, so that's great.